In today's video, we're going to be talking about the opening of the Pathétique sonata by Beethoven, Opus 13. Recently, I've been having several students play this sonata, and they keep asking me about interpretation, how I see the piece. So let's get straight into it, and I'll show you how I see the opening of this piece. The first thing I want to discuss with you is the chords, the first chords in bars 1, 2, and 3. This. Then we have in bar 2, and then we have bar 3. All these chords have forte piano written next to them. So my advice to you would be, when you play this piece, is don't start overly dramatic and loud. You don't want to have that. While you might be tempted to do that, you need to think about further what happens in the piece. If you look at bar 5, we have... That's where you can see also in the score fortissimo. So the reason I'm saying this is you want to build the tension. You want, when you're playing, that you feel that the dramatic feeling is increasing throughout the piece and not give everything you've got from the get-go. So when you play the opening, I would advise everyone to hold back a little bit, give it a nice amount of energy, a nice forte, but don't just go all in. Not completely, not like this, but because keep in mind, if you were to play this on an exam or at a concert or for somebody, people don't have an idea of what forte is. So you set the tone to forte, you set the tone, everything is relative, dynamic is relative. So you decide what forte is going to be. But if you give yourself and the audience the feeling that if you give them everything from the very beginning and you hit it really hard, you have nothing else to offer later in the piece. So you'll get exhausted, you'll start getting stiff. It leads to a lot of problems later on, technical as well. So make sure that you practice a controlled, dramatic enough, but not all your power. Just remember that there is more coming. That's also one of the most beautiful things about piano practice and piano playing. Practicing and finding the right sounds, not just playing the right notes. Tip number 2, something very important. After you play this main chord, make sure that you hear the next one. Very often you would hear the mistake of people playing the first one, first of all, too loud, and then they missed. Or in bar 2, and not. Very often that happens is people play the first chord too loud, and in all this cloud of sound you can't hear the next chord. So that's also a reason to watch out with your first chord in the forte. And then another trick you can use is don't go too fast into the next chord. When you play the first one, wait a little bit for the sound to subside, and then also with this one, wait a little bit, so you can hear that chord, that fast, quick chord, because that's the pulse of the piece. Da-da, ba-ba. Also the first ba-ba. Waiting a little bit after the first chord in bar 1, 2, and 3 also builds up tension. So it's not that only you're waiting for the sound to decrease, but also that's going to produce so much tension. Everybody's waiting for what's going to happen. And if you begin too quick, then the tension hasn't built enough yet. So when you start with this piece, make sure that you practice, that you have the right sound on the first chord, and then you make sure that you wait out a little bit so the sound decreases, the tension builds, and then you go into the next chord. Perhaps you'd be interested to know that Elvire and I recorded a piano course where we teach you how to truly fix your mistakes, because that's a big problem for a lot of people, so the link will be down below. You can check it out. Now let's move on to bar 3. That's a very interesting bar. You have the first chord of bar 3, but then you have one more in the middle. This one is important to be more of an impulse than as a statement, like the first chord in bar 3. This one is the statement, then this not too dramatic, because you don't want to block the flow. If you look what's happening further, the piece continues here, and it builds to this actually plays. So that's why in the middle of bar 3, make sure that you also look for the right sound after the sound. As you see in the score, we have also sforzato, which would mean that you have some kind of an impulse, but you don't want to play it the same as the first chord in bar 3. That's going to guarantee the build-up of tension, and exactly as we are talking today about interpretation, that's going to shape up your interpretation and how you see the piece. One of my favorite parts of the opening is the resolution of this chord in bar 3, the middle chord, this one, the resolution. And I have a personal feeling of how this has to be done. I think you have to, when you resolve it, you need to make it a little shorter and then begin impatiently with the next note, like this. Because that gives urgency to the piece. So let me play bar 3 and focus on the middle section of bar 3 and see what I mean. And now, so not very comfortable, nothing like you don't want that, because the piece is not comfortable. This whole opening is nerve-wracking. It is so full of tension, and so you want to recreate that. You want to bring that to the surface so everybody can hear that. Let's do it once more. We have the forte piano, not as loud, resolve, and begin. Because after that, we are going to go and to illustrate, or not necessarily to illustrate, but to convince you even further of that impatient start of the middle of bar 3 is bar 4, where I actually do the opposite. So bar 3, I resolve it and impatiently begin. But now I'm going to actually stretch everything and slow down so it can build. So that to me makes a lot of sense, because you play with time. So if you begin a little bit more, if you begin a little quickly, bar 3 here, if you shorten a little bit, if you speed it up, when you play with time, if you take a little bit, you need to give back. You need to bring balance so the audience and nobody's confused, but also you create a lot of tension. When you work with time, you need to be very, very careful that everything is balanced. When you speed up something, you need to slow down something else, or when you slow down, you need to catch up. So that's why if I'll play now bars 3 and 4, and you can see how my speeding up in bar 3, in the middle of bar 3, will result in stretching bar 4, which brings additional tension to the opening of this movement. And now you can try to practice this and see if you like this kind of interpretation. I personally love it a lot, and I'm really convinced about it, and that's why I wanted to share it with you. And what I love, but we'll talk in the next videos about this, is bar 5, when he gives the illusion of more peace after all this tension. He gives the illusion that everything is going to be okay and resolved. But not really, because it's Beethoven. But we're going to continue with the opening. I don't want to make the video too long. We're going to continue further with this page. So I'll be very curious to hear down below what you think about interpreting this first page, or the first even bars of this piece, and if you've ever thought about it. And of course, if you have further questions about the piece, let us know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.